I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Vietnam Veterans News Podcast. News of interest about Vietnam veterans from a Vietnam veteran. Now, here's your host, Mack Payne.
This is Mack Payne here with episode 1749er of the Vietnam Veteran News Podcast. News about the Vietnam War and the brave veterans who served there, as told to you by yours truly, a Vietnam veteran. On this Friday, May the 22nd of the year 2020, a year that started out with good vision and then became clouded by the COVID-19 84 virus. Let's hope our vision clears up soon. Memorial Day is coming up real soon, next Monday to be specific. Due to the COVID-19 84 virus, many celebrations are being toned down or eliminated. I'm going to do my part on this podcast to help us never put away the memories of those who gave their lives for their country. Since this is the Vietnam Veteran News Podcast, I'll be concentrating on the Vietnam veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice for their country, way over there in Vietnam. Whenever someone died in Vietnam, it devastated their families. The lives of the family members of the fallen over there would be forever changed the day they got the word of their loss. There's a story coming out of New Mexico about a family who lost someone in Vietnam back in 1968. They were devastated terribly. They wondered what could they do to honor the memory of their son. They decided to build a memorial at Angel Fire, New Mexico. Angel Fire is up in the northern part of the state, about 90 miles north of Santa Fe and 150 miles north of Albuquerque. Recently, there was a story about this New Mexico Vietnam Veterans Memorial at Angel Fire because filmmaker Sarah Canafani made a PBS documentary about this monument. There was a story in the Albuquerque Journal about the memorial and the film being made about it. I'm going to share that with you so you know what they're doing to honor their Vietnam veterans out there in New Mexico, and also tell you about how you can get access to this documentary. It's going to be shown on the New Mexico PBS station, but you can also stream it. There will be a link to the website that tells you how you can stream this documentary about the Angel Fire Vietnam Veterans Memorial. I think it would be worth your time to take a look at it. Right now, let's take a look at this story about the monument and the documentary program. The title of the story is Hope and Healing. On This Hallowed Ground, tells story of New Mexico Vietnam Veterans Memorial. The story was submitted by none other than Adrian Gomez. He is the entertainment editor and journal arts writer at the Albuquerque Journal. Let's take a look at what Adrian has to say about this Vietnam Veterans Memorial out in New Mexico. Dateline, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Victor Doc Westphall had a vision to honor soldiers killed in the Vietnam War. In 1971, he began to develop a memorial site near Angel Fire. This was after his son, Lieutenant David Westphall, died in an ambush at Con Thien in Quang Tri Province, South Vietnam in 1968. Today, the Peace and Brotherhood Chapel in Angel Fire is a beacon of hope and healing. Westphall's journey is the subject of the documentary on This Hallowed Ground, Vietnam Veterans Memorial Born from Tragedy, by Sarah Canafani. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Sarah, if not, I am apologizing up front. However it's pronounced, it is an extremely cool name. Getting on with the story. Canafani says, This was the first memorial to honor both sides of the war. Victor Westphall wanted it to be a place of healing. For a lot of men, it takes them many times to go through the grounds. There are efforts now trying to build a counseling clinic for family members for men. It's not just a museum that you walk through. It's a place for healing. I never got to meet Doc, but he would welcome any of these men to his home. The documentary will air at 10 p.m. Sunday, May the 24th, 2020, and again at 8 p.m. Monday, May the 25th, on New Mexico PBS. Just in case you don't live in New Mexico, it will also be streaming online nmpbs.org. Again, that link will be on the show notes for this podcast episode number 1749er over at the podcast website, VietnamVeteranNews.com. I advise you to go over there and click on the trailer that's provided at that link that will tell you a whole lot more about this documentary that you don't want to miss. It tells it like it was. Continuing, New Mexico PBS believes it is important to present this award-winning, uniquely New Mexico film from a New Mexico filmmaker, especially at this time as the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Angel Fire is a place of healing and honor, says Franz Joachim, General Manager and CEO of New Mexico PBS. On this Memorial Day weekend and throughout the year, New Mexico PBS presents programs which commemorate, honor, and may be of interest to those who serve, have served, and their families and friends. Con Thien spent about 2 years working on the documentary. The film originally started as a way to document the restoration of a Huey helicopter. It was just going to focus on the restorations, he says. As I got to talking, I had no idea that the memorial existed. I grew up in Santa Fe. We went to Angel Fire and we saw this weird building. When I heard the story behind it, I was just floored. This needed to be bigger than a restoration video. I had to figure out how to meld the two stories. The filming was done before a script was written. Now that's the way you do it. You make the film, and then you go write the script. Sounds like a good idea. Continuing. A lot of the people that lived through this aren't around anymore, she says. We had to capture the stories as quickly as we could. That's right. Vietnam veterans are beginning to drop like flies. We're all getting a little long in the tooth. That documentary has received 2 Telly Awards for Best Documentary and for editing. Con Thien says that after Westphall's son died, the crushing news left him and his wife with an unavoidable question that haunts millions who have lost loved ones in wars. What do we do now? For Westphall and his wife Jeanne, their response was to honor the only thing that is worthy of honor in fatal conflict, the sons and daughters, mothers and fathers who fought and bled when their country called. Their response became a battle of its own. Through financial struggles, political controversy, and a broken spirit, they succeeded in building a place to heal the brokenhearted and honor their boy. That is such a tremendous thing when people persevere and accomplish their goals. Finding a lot of the archival footage became tough, Con Thien said. There wasn't a lot of Doc or his son David in the younger years. There was not footage or photos. Had we just focused on that, the film would have been about 15 minutes. That was the challenge, and we needed to make this more about the 2 men. It's an integral part of the film. Again, if you have access to the New Mexico PBS broadcasting service, the documentary On This Hallowed Ground, Vietnam Veterans Memorial Born from Tragedy, will be shown at 10 p.m. Sunday, May the 24th, 2020, and then again 8 p.m. Monday night on May the 25th, on Memorial Day, on New Mexico PBS. If you don't have access to the New Mexico PBS broadcasting, go to the website and look at it. It will be streaming online at that website, nmpbs.org. That is a tremendous example of how the parents of a fallen hero in Vietnam decided to honor the memory of their son. They built this tremendous memorial to everyone who made the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam. It also goes far beyond that in that it is a healing place. If you are ever in the vicinity of northern New Mexico, why don't you go by Angel Fire and see this Vietnam Veterans Memorial that was built by loving parents to someone who lost their life over there in Vietnam? I think it would be a wonderful experience. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. This is Mack Payne closing out episode 1749er of the Vietnam Veteran News Podcast. Thank you so much for coming to listen to these programs. You are cordially invited to return again soon and often to listen to more coming your way on this podcast, the Vietnam Veteran News.
How about that? Ain't that a mess?